guys, welcome in to Jessie James Beats. Welcome to our Thursday watch and learn. Today we're making some really cool bangle bracelets. Yeah, I'm a little bit out of breath. I was trying to add the link to the beads that we were using into the description of this video, and I kept getting it wrong, and then before I knew it, it was 5 o'clock. So I'm sorry that I don't have that link there, but I can post it below, or Sarah can post it. Hi, Sarah. I need that link for the beads that we're using today, Sarah, if you get a chance to stick it in there, because I just could not get it to go. But yeah, so we're using a really beautiful mix of beads today. We're using some of the Dakota Stones bead mixes that Jessie James Beats has. They are absolutely gorgeous, and I loved the strands that Jessie James Beats did with Dakota Stones. They were all beautiful, of course, but these mixes are really cool and fun. They come in a 3-tiered pack. I know Sarah, let me turn this light out, sorry. I know Sarah showed you guys some of these, I guess it was yesterday, because these are like fresh. These are brand new. I know that she showed you some of these. We're going to pour one of these little guys out. This is the one that we're using. This is the Kissed by an Angelite bead mix, and it's so pretty. Really is pretty. So I'm excited to work with it today. And we're going to do a really cool bangle bracelet project that is really easy. And I know that I don't want you to think that this is too easy of a project, because this is kind of like a gateway project. This is one of those where once you learn how to do this, then you can take what you've learned from this project and apply it in all different ways in your jewelry making, as always, which, you know, I try to give you guys tips that you can carry through to whatever it is that you're doing. But we're using a really cool tool today. I'm excited to show it to you guys. This is the bracelet bending pliers. These are new as well on the Jessie James Beats website. These are nylon gel pliers, and you can see they've got that nice curve in the mouth. That's what's going to help you to create the perfect bangle bracelet. I'm going to show you guys how to do that. The very first thing we're going to do after we look at the beads is just use this tool before we actually make the bangle bracelet itself. And then, like I said, the bracelet's easy, but you guys are going to love it. I know you will, and you'll take it and you'll run with it and make beautiful things as always. So let's see. First, I just want to say hi to everybody. Hi, Sharon. So good to see you. Hi, Catherine. Who else is here? Everybody. Pam, Peggy. Hi, guys. I love it when you guys are here always. I mean, because we wouldn't be here doing these videos without you. But just an extra little thing that you can do for us and Jessie James Beats. I say us, I mean Jessie James Beats. If you guys wouldn't care to share the link to this video, post this around and share it, then we can share the love, share these awesome beads and these really cool products that we've got. So let's get started. I'm anxious to show you guys these beads, so let's do that. All right. Okay, let me move all this stuff out of the way, turn my light back on. All righty. Hi, Karen. Hi, Deb. Hi, Laura. Love it. Everybody is here. Okay, so check this out. This is, like I said, Kissed by an Angelite. I love the name. Super cute. And look at the blue in this. I love this. This is very oceanic feeling. And just really beautiful. I love that you've got the creams and the browns. You know, you've got a lot to work with here, so you really could incorporate this in to other things. You don't just have to use this on its own, but let me tell you, there's enough here. You can make several things with it. So again, it comes in this 3-tiered pack. We're going to just use this top pack. Actually, we're not. I think I'm going to add some tassels to this design, but these are the beads that we're going to be using that we're really going to focus on, and these are the Dakota Stones that are in this. They are some blue Imperial Jasper and some Angelite rounds, or Angelite, I'm sorry, Angelite rounds. Look at those. They are absolutely beautiful. Beautiful. I love these guys. Look at that. Aren't they pretty? Okay, so I'm going to sit these to the side. These are going to be like the focal of our piece. So I'm going to sit these to the side. And then let's just take a little look at what else is in here, just because we like to play with all these things. All right, so you're getting some of these little tassels, and you can see how they've tied in all the colors from those beautiful beads into the rest of the things that are included. You've got let's see, 3 different sizes of tassels. You've got leather tassels, and you've got these silk tassels, and then these cute little baby blues. And then you've got just some spacers here, and I love all the different metals that are included. Sylvia says tassels because we extra. Yes, we are. We are very extra. But you know, that's what makes us fabulous. All right, so I'm going to set that to the side because, yeah, we're going to add some tassels. And then on the bottom tier of this are just some more beautiful, beautiful beads from Jessie James Beads. Some glass beads. Look at these guys. These are huge and beautiful. Love them, love them. And these are, I don't know what you call this color, but this is one of my favorites. I get excited when this color shows up in mixes that I get because it's one of those neutrals that you can use with just about everything. Love it. Love it, love it. And then you've got these guys. So you can see everything, of course, matches and goes together well. And you're getting quite a lot. Like if I put all this back out here, you'll see there's like a ton of stuff here, which I love. Well, maybe you'll see it, maybe you won't. All right, there you go. You're still not quite centered, but you guys get it, right? All right, so lots of beautiful stuff going on. And don't forget to check out over on the Jessie James Beads website that there are more of these Dakota Stones mixes. This is just one of several that they have that are absolutely beautiful. And this just happens to be the one we're going to play with today. All right, so like I said, we're going to use these round beads. We are, let's see, I can't remember. Let's not use all of them. I don't know, we might, if we have time, we'll make 2 bracelets, but if we don't, let's just make 1 and let's just kind of alternate these beads that we've got because they're just so pretty, okay? So I'm going to set those to the side. These are the larger out of the beads. Just keep that in mind that what we're using are rounds, okay? And the rounds, the reason that I picked those, they're just easier to work with if you're a first timer when it comes to bangles, okay? But that doesn't mean that you can't use other shapes. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do, like I said, is we're gonna test out this tool because some of you may not have seen this guy in action. Now, I can't hold him straight up and down just because I don't have a whole lot of room up and down this direction, but check that out, okay? So you've got your nylon jaw here and it's got that nice curve in it. This is going to help you create the curve of your bangle bracelet or any other component that you happen to be using, because this tool is not just limited to making bangles, okay? And what's nice about it being a nylon jaw, for one thing, it's not going to create any marks on your wire. Another thing it's going to do is it's also going to help to work harden anything that you're working on, okay? Super cool. So this is super easy to use. I just have a piece of wire here just to kind of show you this tool in action before we get started. So this is a 20 gauge piece of wire. It really doesn't make any difference. I could have picked anything, but just to show you what this does, okay? So you just want to place your wire just right in there and then just kind of mush it down. And then you just move down just a little bit, you know, a couple of inches at a time. I mean, not inches, just a few little, I don't know, a few little centimeters at a time there. You're going to move along. Well, maybe 20 gauge is not the perfect choice for this. I've got an extra long piece, but you can see that curve starting to take shape, okay? You can see what's going to end up happening. If I could hold this correctly, that would probably help. You know what? Let me raise you guys up just a little bit. And I can always zoom in if we need to. It just gives me a little bit more room here. All right, so like I said, let's start over again. So we're just going to move this along the surface of our wire, and what it's going to do is it's just going to create the perfect little bangle shape for you. Now, like I said, this 20 gauge wire, this is a little on the thin side, definitely not what I would want to use to create a bangle. I would certainly go thicker than this, but I'm just showing you just kind of an easy guide as to what the pliers do, okay? You can see it makes that perfect round shape. Yeah, you guys are right. Catherine and Sharon, works best on 12 gauge, 18 gauge, things like that. Yeah, definitely want to use a thicker wire. I would never make a bangle bracelet out of 20 gauge wire. I was just showing you guys that perfect shape because you can use this, you know, elsewhere, and maybe your components that you're using are 20 gauge. So, you know, you get to see it in action, which is cool. Okay, so you get the idea of what the tool is going to do. This is going to help us, this tool is going to help us to create a really cool bangle bracelet. I'm going to move you back down again. Sorry, you guys, just hold on. Okay. So like I said, this is going to help us to create a bangle bracelet shape, because what we're going to start with is a straight piece of wire. Now, I'm using 16 gauge for this. You can use 16 gauge or 18 gauge. However, I will caution you to make sure before you get started that your beads will actually fit onto your wire. Okay, some of mine are a little tight. They might need some bead reaming, but for the most part, all of these Dakota Stones are going to fit on this 16 gauge wire. This one was just giving me a little bit of trouble, but that's okay. I mean, you know, I've got a bead reamer. I can totally fix that. But you want to be sure before you get started, because you don't want that frustration of trying to make something and not everything fit. Okay, just going to sit this guy over here. He needs a little extra attention. So that's what you need to do first. You just want to make sure that your beads are going to fit on your wire. If you've got a great big huge piece of wire, you may need to give your beads some extra care and just ream those with a bead reamer before you add them. Okay, so we're not going to do the beads first though. We want to talk about this wire. I'm using 16 gauge German style wire in this silver color. Okay, you can use whatever you want to. Again, just make sure your beads fit. Use whatever you're comfortable using. Oh, Carla says her video is cutting in and out. Carla, I'm sorry. I hope it comes back for you. I hope everybody else is not having any issues. You guys let me know, okay? All right, so like I said, 16 gauge wire, and I have cut this into a 9.5 inch piece. 9.5 inches of this wire is going to give you about a 7.5 inch bracelet. Okay, and that's pretty standard. 7.5 inches in fact, that's actually a little big for me. I'm more like a 6.5 to a 7, but 7.5 is usually my go-to size when I'm making bracelets for other people. So keep that in mind. 9.5 inches is going to give you a 7.5 inch bracelet. If you need a bigger bangle bracelet, definitely add a few more inches to this. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to use our small bell making pliers. These are also available on the Jessie James Beads website. You guys have seen me use these for a number of things. I love bell making pliers. They are great for everything. So what we're going to do is we are going to create a loop here at the end. Catherine asks if it's round or half round. Catherine, this is round wire, completely round. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take our bell making pliers and we're going to use the larger bail on this smaller bell making pliers, and we're going to grab that wire right at the very, very tip. Okay, and all you're going to do is just wrap around to create yourself a little P shape. Okay, so I've just made a simple closed loop, and now I'm going to put this back on the pliers and I'm going to break the neck of this. Now that sounds really nasty and really gross, but basically what I'm doing is I'm just positioning this back onto the pliers and holding it, and then I'm just gonna take the wire in this hand and guide it this way. Okay, so when I take it off, I've got that nice little curve here, and that looks very similar to an eye pin. Okay, so when you break the neck of the wire, it just breaks that straight curve, or that straight curve. Wow, that's not a thing. That straight part of the wire. Okay. So now that's going to be the end of our wire. Okay. Now we're going to come down here to the other end. Now, not only do we have the loop for our hook at the end to close our wire, but now our beads aren't going to fall off. So we don't have to worry about, you know, trying to run after our beads as we're working on our project. So now we're going to go ahead and thread those beads on. And like I said, I'm using these larger Dakota Stones beads from that mix. And I'm just kind of alternating. You can do whatever pattern you want to. Okay. So now I've got these thread on. Now, obviously they're down here at the bottom. That's okay, it doesn't make any difference. We're gonna position them where we want them to go in just a second. We're more concerned with taking care of the ends of our wire first. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys one of the little wire wrap techniques that we have done. Well, it's not really a wrapping technique, but we're manipulating the wire. I'm going to show you this one. We've done this one actually several times. So we're going to create that little shepherd's hook at the back, or at the end here, and we've used it for a lot of different things, but this is a great way to create an end to your component. Okay, and you know what, I don't know, that might be too big. We'll have to double check on this. I did this earlier and now I'm second guessing what I did. So all I did here was I created a loop here using the small barrel of the wire, just like we did on the other end. Okay, so we just have this small loop. All this is going to do is just going to be a decorative part of our hook. You can leave this step out. If this loop ends up being too big to go through the loop on the other end, we are certainly going to clean that up. Okay. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come and place this in to the pliers right up against that loop. And like I said, you guys have seen me do this before. Now we're going to roll backwards. We're going to bend that wire going the opposite direction. Okay, so when we take this off the bell making pliers, we've got this cute little shepherd's hook. So now we don't need any hardware. Okay, the hardware is built into the piece. We've got our loop on this end, and hopefully it's going to be big enough to clear that hook. It did earlier, so if it doesn't work, we'll work it out. It's okay. I'm pretty sure that it works. It just doesn't, it feels a lot smaller in my hand than I remember it earlier, but we'll fix it if we need to, like I said. So we've got this loop on one end, and then we've got our shepherd's hook on the other end. There's no hardware needed for this at all. Most importantly, our beads are not going to fall off, and we're ready to move on to the next step. Okay, so this is one of those where I bring out the ruler and I pretend like I'm measuring, and the truth is I'm really just kind of eyeballing it. So I'm going to measure at the end right here where my hook ends, okay? So I want to put that right at the end of the ruler. If I could lay my ruler flat, that would probably help. Sorry, I've got tools all over the place. Okay, so I'm laying this guy down. Now, I don't want to include this in my measurement, so I'm going to flip it over here to the side, and it's sticking out the edge, okay? Because we want the straight section of the wire only as part of our measurement, okay? So we're measuring from that end down here to the other end, which you guys cannot see because there's not enough room. But at the end of this hook, I'm sorry, at this loop where the straight section of the wire starts, we've got roughly 7 inches. 7 inches, because we've got a half inch, a little over a half inch when you include the loop and the hook, okay? So what you want to do is you want to find the center of your 7 inches, and that's where you want this center bead to be. Now, like I said, I got the ruler out and I pretended like I was measuring. You guys heard me say the numbers, but what it really comes down to is really just kind of eyeballing it, because what's going to happen once we start wire wrapping, these beads are going to move back and forth just a little bit, but it will help you to bring that ruler back out just to kind of glance at it and see that you're pretty close to the center, okay? You can do the actual math and mark your wire if you want to, but it's really not that necessary. All right, we just want to keep these generally in the center. They're still going to move. We're going to take 22 inches of 22 gauge wire. I made it really super easy to remember. 22 inches, 22 gauge wire, and this is German style wire, and I'm using the silver color that matches my 16 gauge that I've got going on here, okay? So what we're going to do, and like I said, those beads are going to move around. It's totally fine. We're going to come up here on our wire, and we're going to take this 22 gauge piece and we're going to wrap it around our 16 gauge piece about 10 times. 8 times is the absolute minimum. We're going to try for 10. I'm going to come down on the wire about 4 inches, so I've got plenty of wire to use to create our wraps. So there's 2 already. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now I've got a little bit of a tail here, so I could have actually come down a little bit further on the wire, but that's okay. We're not going to miss this amount. Okay, I'm going to come in with my cutter tool and I'm just going to trim that off. And I'm going to run my finger across that to be sure that it's not sticking up. If it is, you come in with your chain nose pliers and just kind of push it down just a little bit. Now you don't want to smash on this really hard for a couple of reasons. You don't want to ding up your wire, but you also don't want to squeeze this so tight that it doesn't move on the wire. Okay, because we want to be able to move this just a little bit. And you can see it's forced movement, so it's not going to slip and slide up and down a whole lot, but I can still move this. That's important, okay? So now I'm going to flip this over so that the wrapped side is over here on my left hand. I'm going to use my left hand to hold the wire wraps and my beads. Okay, so your left hand's going to be doing all of the safety, and your non-dominant, or I'm sorry, your dominant hand, it's whichever, my right hand is going to do the wire wrapping. So the first thing I'm going to do, you can see this wire is coming out this direction towards me. I'm going to take it and I'm going to go across the surface of this first bead. Okay, and like I said, I want to hold everything with my left hand, going across the surface of this bead, and then I'm going to wrap around once that 16 gauge wire. Okay, so now that bead is locked in place. It's not going to go anywhere. Okay, back up around, not around, but down and around. You can see the wire is coming back out towards me. I'm going to slide another bead down. Okay, and same thing. I'm going to wrap across the surface of the wire and then wrapping around that 16 gauge wire and back towards myself. Okay, so when I let go, this is what I've got. And they're not perfectly even, and that's okay, because with this 20 gauge wire, we're going to be able to move this around at the end and make it look exactly like what you want. What gauge of wires? We've got a 16 gauge wire here, and we've got a 22 gauge wire here. Okay. All right, so I'm going to drop another bead down. Same thing, going across the surface of the wire, and I'm going to wrap around that 16 gauge wire down here through the bottom. Slide another bead down, same thing, okay? So it's really like a wrap and a half around this 16 gauge wire, okay? Last bead coming down, going around and back up towards me. Now, that actually created 2 wraps here. So now we only need 8 to make our 10. So just hold everything together, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And now we've got our 10 wraps here that match our 10 wraps on the other side. Okay, now, I don't know if you guys can tell from the angle that you're at, but you can see my beads are not in the center. Not even kinda. I'm not even gonna pretend that those beads are in the center. But it's okay. I'm going to give them a little push, okay? Just kind of guide them to where I want them to be. And now again, this is where that ruler is going to come in handy. Bring that ruler in here. Now you don't have to do crazy hard math. Just give it a glance and be sure that you're pretty close. Once this bracelet is complete and you've got it on, nobody's ever going to know if it's perfectly centered or not, okay? So we're getting pretty close. That's good enough for me. Nobody's going to know the difference. So now I still have this tail end of wire here. I'm going to hold all of this together, and I'm going to go back the other direction, okay? And I'm going to make maybe 3 or 4 wraps over the top of these wraps. I know that sounds crazy, but I kind of like it. It makes this neat little kind of candy cane pattern. You can see there's 3 wraps across those wraps. If you don't like that, you don't have to do it, okay? You can line them up and cover every single one of these if you want to, you know, so you don't have that messy look. I kind of like that pretend like it's messy look that I've got going on. Okay, so now my wire is here, and you can see it's running the opposite direction of our wraps going this way. So what we're going to do, I'm going to flip this over, put it over here in my non-dominant hand, and we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to go back the other direction, okay? And actually I'm going to give this one more wrap because I want this wrap to come across the top and crisscross over our first wrap. And we're going to proceed the exact same way. Okay, we're going to crisscross those wraps, a wrap and a half in the center, crisscross over the next one, hold that with my thumb, wrap it, cross the next one. So we're just making little X's across the surface of the bead. Wrap it again, crisscross over the next one, same thing. Okay, and now we're here at our last bead, and what we're going to do is we're just going to take this and make those little candy cane wraps right here at the end. And now you can see I've used up almost all of my wire, just have a little bit left over, and that's fine. That's exactly what we want. We don't want to have a lot of leftovers, so my measurements were good. Sometimes I get in trouble with you guys when my measurements are bad and you've got a lot of leftover wire, which I can totally understand. You want to use, you want to have as little waste as possible. Okay, now what I want you to notice is you can see my wraps, my crisscrosses. It's like wire macrame. You are so right, Catherine. It totally is. And it's a lot easier than I think a lot of people think. Don't be afraid of the wire. It's very forgiving. And I'm going to show you exactly how forgiving it is. Because as you can see, my wraps are not all lined up. My crisscrosses are not all lined up. But because we're using 22 gauge wire, all I have to do is just give it a little turn. I can make this look however I want it to. Okay, I can make them all lined up nice and neat. I can alternate them so that there's a crisscross on this side and then the next crisscross is over here. The wire, that 22 gauge wire, like I said, it's really forgiving and you're not going to ruin it by doing that. Okay, you can see just what we've got going on here. Okay, now if you don't like the look of the X's across the beads, you can just go one direction, so that you've just got that kind of wave effect with the wire. I like to go back the other direction just because I love wire. I mean, I have no other reason other than that. But if you don't like all that extra wire, go one direction and call yourself done and trim off the ends, and you've still got a really cool looking bracelet. All right, so checking everything out. Yes, we still have our beads pretty much in the center, but we're working with this flat piece of wire, and that a bracelet does not make. So now comes the part where it's time to create the actual bangle shape. And to do that, we're going to use our bangle bending, bangle bracelet. Oh my gosh, I can't even remember. Our bracelet bending pliers. There we go. It's a mouthful. I knew I could get it out there. All right, so to do that, we're going to do exactly what I showed you before. And I'm going to raise you guys up just so I have a little bit more room here, so you can see these pliers in action. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to place the wire. Well, it would help if you could see. There we go. I'm going to place the wire in the pliers and just give it a squeeze. Okay, and you can see that curve starting to take shape. Come down just a little bit further, squeeze again, a little bit further, squeeze again, and right up to that loop at the end, and we're going to squeeze again. Okay, oops, moved my beads too much. I did knock those out of the center. That's all right. I've still got some slip slide going on here. That's okay. They're not super loose, but once you create the entire bangle shape, those beads are not going to move anymore. So don't worry if that happens to you. Okay, so I've got this nice curve on one side. We're going to come over here to the other side. We're going to do the exact same thing. Okay, grabbing that wire with the pliers, give it a bend, come down a little bit, give it a bend, and come down and give it a bend. And I've actually included my hook in this. You can if you want to, you don't have to. Now look at what we have. Now that looks crazy, right? I know, it's not gonna fit anybody, but it's all right because we're gonna start gentle movements in the center and we're gonna make it work, right? We just needed the guidance in the beginning, and now we're gonna use our fingers to gently maneuver the wire into the shape that we want, and then we're going to go back over it again with the pliers. So that wire that is running through the center of those beads, you're going to need to manipulate it just a little bit, but you just want to make small movements. Okay, you don't want to like just crazy bend really fast with a whole lot of strength, because you're going to bend and create a V in your wire that you will never get back out again. Okay, so we're just very gently creating our bangle shape. And you can work on this for a while until it gets to be the exact shape that you want. It's really up to you. If you want it to be more of an oval shape, you can create the oval shape. You could put this on a bracelet mandrel if you wanted to help create that shape. But this is pretty much the shape that I want, but what I want is, if you'll notice, my hook and my eye here don't work together correctly. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to grab it with my nylon jaw pliers and I'm going to bend it around so that it's going the direction that I want it to go. Okay, that 16 gauge wire, still very, very forgiving. Okay, it's going to keep its shape, but I needed to move that and it was willing to do that for me. Okay, so now I'm going to hook it through my eye, and like I said, if that loop is too much, I think it is. That's okay, we can fix this. Watch what we're going to do. All right, so we are going to come in with our cutter tool, and I'm using a flush cutter because I do want a flush cut. This decorative loop here, this is what is a little bit too big to fit through my eye, but that's okay. We can trim it up and make it work. So I want a flush cut. I'm just going to come in and trim off. See, I've trimmed off just a little bit of that. Now, to make this guy smaller, I'm going to use my round nose pliers to grab this wire. And close that up. Now see, we've made a smaller little loop there. No worries, no problems. Everything can always be fixed with wire. All right, so now when I go to close it, it will clear our eye, okay? But I'm not done, because if you look at this, this is not the greatest shape in the world, okay? But that's where these pliers come in handy, because now that I've got it hooked, my hook is going in the right direction, my eye is going in the right direction. Now I can really kind of work on it with the pliers and just keep bending on it, you know, biting down with the pliers on that wire to create the shape that you want, okay? And you may find that you only need a little bit of extra work with the pliers or a lot. That's pretty good for me. I'm happy with that. It's a nice bangle shape. Might not be perfectly round, but that's okay, because I do have to have a little bit of give in that circle to open this up. Now, my hook is actually going in the wrong direction for me personally. It really makes no difference. You can flip your eye and your hook any direction you want. It really is just it kind of just depends on what you like. I normally have my hook going side to side and my eye going the other way. You know, but those things are just little personal choices about your jewelry. You know, that's up to you. Makes no difference. You're going to end up with the same results either way. So that's it. And like I said, you can move this, like those X's. If I don't want those X's in that place, I want them to run right across the top, I can bend all this around and make the X's run across the top if I wanted to. Okay, so this is your basic bangle. Super cool, super easy. You can use any kind of beads that you want with this. You don't even have to do the wire wrapping. You could just thread some cool beads on here, some of these Dakota Stones. Forget the wire wrapping, and you've got a bangle bracelet where the beads are actually moving, you know, free flowing through here. The wire wrapping just keeps them in the center. Not necessary, but because we are extra, let's add a little tassel to this just because I love it, and why not, right? So the tassels that come with the Jessie James Bead Mix, they've already got a loop on them. So all you have to do is just open them up and thread them on. And close it right back up. And now I've added a little extra dangle to this. I could go crazy adding extra dangles to this. You could add charms to this. You could wire wrap more beads and hang those on here. But you've got your basic bangle bracelet structure. And that's the most important part. Once you get that structure down, then the sky is the limit as far as what you can create after that. Okay? So, that is it, you guys. Let me move you back around here. Oh, well, there's my wall. Sorry about that. I forgot to, yeah, okay. It's been one of those days. So, thank you guys for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this bracelet project. I know it was on the easy side, but you know, things don't have to be difficult. And it takes a beginner project like this to get you excited about wire. I know that when I first started making jewelry, wire was one of the most intimidating things that I ever worked with. I was scared of it for a really long time. But the more you practice, the easier projects that you choose, the more you'll see that the wire will bend to your whims. That's what you want. You're the boss of the wire. So anyway, you guys, cute little bangle bracelet. You guys will be churning these out with every possible Jessie James bead. I know you guys, that's what you guys do, and you're awesome at it, and I appreciate that. You are always inspiring me. So one announcement before I go. Next week, we're changing it up. We're not going to be at 5 o'clock here on our Thursday. It will still be Thursday, but we are moving to the morning slot. We're going to do 11 a.m. So set your reminders for that. I know some of you put reminders on your phone. Go ahead and set your reminder. I won't be here at 5 o'clock, but I will be here at 11 a.m. so you can start your day out with a fun project from Jessie James Beads. And I think that's it. You can join me tomorrow on my page if you want to. I'm creating some more things with Jessie James Beads. Check me out if you want. And if not, I will see you guys again next week. And have a wonderful, I know I've said and like 100 times. Have a wonderful rest of the week and a great weekend. And I will see you guys later. Bye, guys.